So I'm on Instagram, and one of the people, Lovely T, who I follow and subscribe to on YouTube, she put this post about Bad Baby going at black women because Bad Baby is now rocking box braids. And of course, when black women see a white girl like Bad Baby wearing box braids, they went at Bad Baby, and Bad Baby basically said, y'all, some of y'all black women, y'all be wearing Brazilian, Peruvian, all types of weave, and y'all glue all these wigs and shit that y'all know is not y'all texture of hair, and I don't say a goddamn thing. And y'all getting on me. She was talking about y'all. So why y'all getting on me for trying to wear box braids and calling it cultural assimilation and all that other shit? So let me start by saying this: why do I give a fuck? I'm big on black women's hair. So I love a natural, and I've always said this. I love a natural woman's hair. I love the afro from the curly light skins to the nappy 4C, 4D. I love all that. I do. I really do. When I grew my hair out, I called it nappy. I likes it, and I've always say I'm happy nappy. Now I'm bald now, but not bald, but I always when I get a haircut, I rock a low Caesar. Sometimes I get it dark, but other times I go like one, 1 and 0. All right. So I'm big on black women's hair. So two. I've said the same shit Bad Baby done said, but that's because I don't like weaves. I don't like weaves and I don't like wigs. I've never done it. I've always I tolerate it. All right. I'm not going to tell you not to wear it. Well, I'm not going to snatch it out your hair or none of that stuff. Some women, I think, you're prettier without your weaves, and I've said this. And sometimes I know that some of the weaves. I will never tell black women. I will never tell you to stop wearing weaves. But if you ask me, what do you think about weaves? I will tell you straight up. I'm not a fan of weaves. I'm not a fan of wigs. I've always been a fan of your natural hair because black is beautiful. And I think black hair is beautiful. I think a lot of people will try to say, oh, there's no such thing as black hair. And I tell them, shut up. I've never seen a white woman with 4C fucking hair. All right. And even if they have like Jewish curly afros, that shit's still like white hair's texture and some shit like that. And and most of them have to get a perm to even get that type of texture in their fucking hair. So believe me, as a man, I know as much about his hair as I do. So I like you can't pull the wool over my eyes. You can't tell me shit. At least in my opinion, because I think I know as much about hair. I got 3 sisters, so I watched them put weaves in their hair and all the other shit. But anyway, now this is to Bad Baby, and I don't know. I'm not going to bash Bad Baby because I'm a grown ass man. I don't need to be bashing a 16-year-old girl. But I do think she needs to be educated. And I think this is where a lot of people, especially on social media, when they throw cultural assimilation and all that other stuff, it seems like when you read it, it seems like they're bashing her or they're yelling at her and all that other stuff. I feel like with things like this, you got to educate. So, Miss Danielle Bergoli. In America, some of us wouldn't even allow to wear our natural hair, especially black women. They wasn't really allowed to wear their natural hair anyway. They had to get their hair perm or they at least wear wigs to make it look like white people so they were deemed professional. Because as much as people don't like to admit this, or a lot of people think black people's hair, especially like afros, is unprofessional. So a lot of those black women, if you ever seen them wear perms to straighten their hair, or get these wigs, and wigs kind of like have these textures on there. Now, don't get me wrong, I hate a blonde wig. Like, you could never convince me in blonde wig. Like, look, only person I think that could pull it off was like Mary J. Blige, and even then, I'm like, eh. But to keep it on point, a lot of black women, like for one, the 70s, when a lot of stuff was like black owned and like they had their mom and pop stores, they was able to wear it. But around white people, they wasn't allowed to wear their, natural afros and shit. Some of them, like I said, some of them had to get perms, had to get wigs and all that other stuff to assimilate. That's where cultural assimilation comes from. We had to that for what you're doing is cultural appropriation because what black people had to fight to wear, you could just wear it and people call it ethnic. Because I remember when white girls were getting dreads, and there's gonna be this talk about white people can't get in dreads and all the other stuff, but there was a time when white girls would get dreads, they would call earthly or ethnic or something like that. When black girls get dreads, it's dirty and nappy and all the other bullshit that they try to put this on black women. And it's unfair because a lot of women, dreads are easier to take care of. I mean, it's still something to take care of, but sometimes, and this is coming from someone that's in the military. I remember like when we was about to graduate, and in the military, and this is coming from the men. When they cut your hair, you don't get no time. It's just and move on. You're basically damn near bald and you move on. So basically, you don't get no lineup or nothing. So a couple black people, especially ones that used to work at barber shop, they used to take their razors and try to line all the black kids up. Some white person told them, and they got asthma, which means they got sent. They wasn't be able to graduate with their class, which is fucking unfair. Like we had to like I got my hair lined up, but no one snitched on our class. But we was hearing stories about that people was getting lined up and all that other bullshit, and they wasn't be able to graduate because some white person done told on them. Now, black people, this is going to my black people, you gotta understand. Now, this is also me being in the Navy. I was one time where I had a dark Caesar and I was brushing my hair. And the white guy came up, he said, "Why are you brushing your hair? You have no hair, your hair is short." And I had to tell him, I'm doing this to get waves. He's like, "What is waves?" It's basically and I tell him you're taming your hair to look at this motion. And when they didn't understand, luckily there was another brother in there who had waves. I said, "I'm basically trying to get my hair to look like that." So when they go, "Oh," I said, "Can white people do it?" I said, "Your hair is really different from this, but it's also kind of easier." Because, anytime you see a hood white boy with waves, their shit is easier for black people because their hair grows down. Our black people's hair grow out. And a lot of black people, you got to understand, white people don't understand black hair, especially old ones. That's why they looked at black people's hair as a fad, like the afros. Hell, even I was watching Charlamagne the Guy when he was interviewing girlfriends, and how Tracy Ross always wore her hair the natural curly state. She said a lot of black women used to come up to her, was like, "Why don't you do something with your hair? It's always unkempt and unprofessional." A lot of people is so institutionalized about getting their hair done that try to fit in white. Sometimes even us, they will institutionalize it as unprofessional. Especially in the military. It used to be the senior chief that would get on black women about their hair. And speaking of military, they are now just allowing dreadlocks for black women. Because you used to get those micro braids, and micro braids hurt. And they're time consuming. The hurt or very time consuming. Like, I've seen a lot of my black women get in trouble because they wanted dreads, or they'll faux locks or some shit like that, and they'll get in trouble for it. Now you're allowed to wear them in the regulation. So, Miss Danielle Bergoli, if it doesn't sound like I'm rambling, you gotta understand, and I'm gonna just wrap this up. A lot of them now. I know now we got people are more. How can I say this? There are laws that's passed. There have to be laws passed around for women to wear their natural hair. The fact that there are laws for women to wear their natural hair is bonkers. Is like you could wear a curly afro and all that stuff as a perm. Like people, I think people will understand that. But for most black people whose hair grow out like that naturally, like I said, they're deemed unprofessional. So I don't. So this is not to. If you look at this video and you stayed around there, first of all, thank you. But this is not to bash, just to educate, because I'm just assuming that you don't know. And black people don't think I'm defending Bhad Bhabie, because even though I don't like wigs and all that other shit, I really don't. I've always said this. I've always appreciated the ones nappy hair. But I'm not gonna be on. Bhad Bhabie's writing all that other shit. Nah. I feel like there needs to be something that has to be educated. Because even right now, young girls who wants to wear their natural hair in public school are getting sent home because people say their hair is unkempt. That's not fair, because that's how their hair is naturally. And this is coming from public schools in inner cities, black schools. Like, this is like, it's not even just like happening and then it's like it's over with. It's still going on right now, where it's affecting the youth. Like, straight A students with like black natural hair is not able to finish school or getting sent home because the way they want to wear their natural hair. So I feel like you gotta take a step back, find someone that's not going to bash you, just educate you. That way you will understand. So, with that being said, I hope if you don't see it, anybody else that kind of agree with Bhad Bhabie, you kind of like see this, because, like I said, black women had to go through a lot of shit and just to like make their hair seem redeemable or like professional instead, because most people are still fighting that. In most states, we're still trying to fight black hairstyles to be deemed professional. Someone like a fade or dreadlocks and all the other stuff. We're still fighting for that. So if it's not, because to most people, if it's not a short hair, it's not professional. But I've seen, like I said, now don't get me now, I don't know about women, but I know white men is like they can't have their hairs touch their ears, or they seem, at least in the military, their hairs can't touch their ears, or it's unprofessional. And trust me, I've like been into the military where I had to be behind a couple white people because someone said their hair is unprofessional and there's like this much hair barely touching their ears, and they said, "Get a haircut, hippie." Really? And I'm like, really? Now, in the meanwhile, I got me a little afro going on. that was like the one privilege of being black, because like white people, they had to get their haircut every 2 weeks. Black people, like I ain't get my haircut in like 3 or 4 months, but my hair never touched my ears, and so they never said something. So they never said nothing. But that's the only time. So let me know what y'all think. Do you think it's, first off, support black women, as I always said. Two, try to educate. Maybe not bash, because she is 16. I'm just assuming, now this is just me, I'm just assuming she does not know better. If she was like a 30-year-old woman, yeah, I feel like you can bash her. But she's a 16-year-old girl. Educate. Don't bash, because if you bash, she's not going to take it the right way. And that's why she came out with that Peruvian and all that other shit about you gluing your hair and the wigs down and all that other stuff. So that's where I'm coming at. Let me know what y'all think. Tune in. My name is Oskino Fly, and I'm out. Peace.